Marcus Chen sat in the sterile conference room and tried not to feel the weight of every eye on him. The lawyer, a tall Vorian with blue skin and forearms, shuffled through digital documents on a holographic display. Around the table sat Marcus's cousin David, 2 aunts he barely knew, and 3 alien creditors who looked bored and irritated in equal measure. The estate of Captain James Chen, the lawyer began, his translator device making his words sound flat and emotionless, consists primarily of outstanding debts totaling 230,000 credits. David snorted. Marcus could feel his cousin's smug satisfaction from across the table. They had never gotten along, not since they were kids. David had gone into finance while Marcus joined the military. David had always considered himself the smart one. However, the lawyer continued, there is one remaining asset. A salvage claim to a vessel designated Prometheus was located at the following coordinates in the void reaches. The holographic display flickered, showing a string of numbers and a grainy image of what looked like an old spaceship. Marcus leaned forward, squinting at the image. The ship looked massive, but the picture was clearly ancient, probably taken over a century ago. One of the creditors, a insectoid Clixar, made a chittering sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. The void reaches? That graveyard? And a human first contact warship? The alien's compound eyes glittered with amusement. Those vessels are worthless. Primitive technology, no shields, kinetic weapons. We stopped using such things 300 years ago. The ship has been abandoned for 153 years, another creditor added. This one was a Turian, her gray skin marked with corporate tattoos. It was likely stripped by scavengers decades ago. The salvage rights are worth nothing. David leaned back in his chair, grinning. So Marcus gets a treasure map to garbage. How fitting. Marcus ignored him. He was reading the additional notes on the display. His grandfather had left a personal message sealed and coded to his DNA. The lawyer passed him a data chip. You can review Captain Chen's personal message in private, the lawyer said. However, I must inform you that the creditors have offered a settlement. If you sign over the salvage rights, they will forgive 60% of the remaining debt. Take it, David said immediately. Don't be stupid, Marcus. You're broke. You just got out of the military with nothing. This is the best offer you'll get. Marcus held the data chip in his hand. It was small, smooth, and surprisingly warm. His grandfather had been a legend in the family, though Marcus had only met him a handful of times. Captain James Chen had been one of the first human explorers after first contact, back when humanity was new to the galaxy and everything was dangerous and unknown. I need time to think, Marcus said. The Clixar creditor clicked his mandibles in annoyance. There is nothing to think about. The ship is worthless. Sign the papers. Give me 1 week, Marcus said, his voice firmer now. He had learned in the military not to let people push him around, even when they thought they knew better. 1 week to review my grandfather's message and make a decision. The lawyer nodded. That is within your rights. David threw up his hands. You're wasting everyone's time. Marcus left the conference room with the data chip clutched in his fist. His small apartment was only a few blocks away in the lower levels of Terra Nova Station. The station was huge, a trading hub where thousands of species came to do business. Humans were just one species among many, and not even a particularly important one. He locked his door and inserted the chip into his personal terminal. The screen flickered and his grandfather's face appeared. The old man looked tired, his hair white, his face lined with age and hard years, but his eyes were sharp and clear. Marcus, the recording began. If you're watching this, I'm dead and you've just sat through a very unpleasant meeting. A slight smile crossed the old man's face. They told you the Prometheus is worthless. They're wrong. Marcus leaned closer to the screen. I can't tell you everything in this message. It's not safe. But I can tell you this. The ship is more than it seems. Much more. During the first contact war, when humanity was losing badly, we built things. Experimental things. Dangerous things. The galaxy made us forget about them as part of the peace treaty. But I never forgot. His grandfather's expression grew serious. The Prometheus isn't just a ship, Marcus. She's a weapon, and she's been waiting. The coordinates are real. The ship is intact. And if you're half the man I think you are, you'll go see her for yourself before you give her away to these vultures? The recording paused, and his grandfather's voice softened. I know I wasn't around much when you were growing up. I was always chasing the next salvage job, trying to pay off debts, trying to prove something. But I watched your service record. I saw what you did during the Krexar raid. You saved your unit using tactics that made your superiors nervous. You think like we used to think back when humanity had to fight for every inch of respect? The old man leaned forward, his eyes intense. Go to the Prometheus, Marcus. She's been waiting for someone like you. Don't let them tell you our history is worthless. Don't let them make you ashamed of what humanity can do when we stop apologizing and start fighting back. The recording ended. Marcus sat in the darkness of his apartment, the only light coming from the screen. Outside his window, alien ships moved through the station's traffic lanes, their sleek hulls and glowing engines representing technologies humanity still couldn't match. But his grandfather's words echoed in his mind. The Prometheus was more than she seemed, and something in the old man's voice, something desperate and hopeful and defiant, made Marcus believe him. He looked at his credit balance on his terminal. It was pathetically low. He had enough for maybe 2 months of rent and food, nothing more. Going to the void reaches would cost him everything he had left. If his grandfather was wrong, if the ship really was worthless, Marcus would be completely broke and even deeper in debt. David was right. The smart move was to sign the papers and take the settlement. Marcus ejected the data chip and held it up to the light. His reflection stared back at him from the apartment window, superimposed over the endless stream of alien vessels outside. He made his decision. He would go to the void reaches. He would see the Prometheus with his own eyes. And if his grandfather was wrong, at least he would know the truth before he gave up. But something told him the old man hadn't been wrong. Not about this. Finding transport to the void reaches was harder than Marcus expected. Most captains laughed when he told them the destination. 2 refused outright, saying they wouldn't risk their ships in that graveyard of fools. Finally, Marcus found a Turian freight captain named Vex who agreed to take him, but only because Marcus offered every credit he had left. "You're crazy," Vex said as Marcus boarded the cramped freight hauler. The ship smelled like recycled air and machine oil. The void reaches is nothing but old battlefields and gravity wells that'll tear a ship apart if you're not careful. Marcus strapped his single duffel bag into the passenger compartment. It contained everything he owned now. "Just get me there. That's all I'm paying you for." The journey took 3 weeks. The freight hauler was slow, making multiple stops at trading posts and mining colonies along the way. Marcus spent most of his time in the tiny passenger area, reviewing everything he could find about the First Contact War and the Prometheus. The ship's crew, 4 Turians and 1 human engineer named Rodriguez, treated Marcus like a curiosity at first. By the second week, they were openly mocking him. "You really think you're going to find treasure out there?" one of the Turian crew members asked during a meal. Her name was Kira, and she had the easy confidence of someone who had spent her whole life in space. "Human first contact ships are jokes. No offense, but your people joined the galaxy with technology that was already 50 years out of date." Rodriguez, the human engineer, nodded reluctantly. "She's not wrong, man. Those old ships use nuclear reactors and chemical thrusters. They're museum pieces. Even if you find the Prometheus intact, what are you going to do with it? Sell it for scrap? My grandfather thought it was worth something," Marcus said quietly. Kira laughed. "No offense to your grandfather, but a lot of those first-generation explorers died broke and crazy. They couldn't accept that humanity was just another junior species. They kept looking for some edge, some secret that would make humans special. But we're not special. We're just late to the party." Marcus didn't argue. He had heard variations of this speech his entire life. Humanity had joined the galactic community during a desperate war with an aggressive insectoid species called the Krexar. The other species had helped humanity survive, but at a price. Humans had to accept their place as newcomers, as primitives who needed to learn from their betters. It bothered him more than he liked to admit. During his military service, he had seen human soldiers treated like second-class citizens, their tactics questioned, their instincts dismissed. He had been decorated for saving his unit during a Krexar raid, but his superiors had called his methods reckless and undisciplined, even as they pinned the medal on his chest. On the 21st day of the journey, Vex announced they were approaching the coordinates. Marcus pressed his face against the viewport in the passenger compartment. Space looked the same as always, endless darkness scattered with distant stars. Then he saw it. The void reaches earned its name. The area was filled with debris from ancient battles, chunks of destroyed ships and twisted metal floating in complex patterns around unstable gravity wells. It was beautiful in a terrible way, like a frozen graveyard. And there, hanging in the darkness like a tombstone, was the Prometheus. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. The ship was enormous, easily twice the size of Vex's freight hauler. Its hull was dark gray, pockmarked with what looked like weapons impacts and micrometeorite strikes. But it was intact. After 153 years, the Prometheus was still whole. By the ancestors, Vex muttered over the comm. I didn't actually believe it would still be here. Kira's voice was quieter now, respectful. That's a Dreadnought-class vessel. They only built 12 of those. I thought they were all destroyed or scrapped after the war. Marcus suited up in an old EVA suit that Vex reluctantly loaned him. The Turian captain made it clear he wouldn't be docking with the Prometheus. Too risky. That thing's been dead for over a century. Could be contaminated. Could have structural failures, could be anything. I'll hold position here. You've got 6 hours of air. If you're not back by then, I'm leaving. Understood, Marcus said. He checked his suit seals and stepped into the airlock. The spacewalk was terrifying and peaceful at the same time. Marcus used a small maneuvering pack to cross the distance between the ships. The Prometheus grew larger and larger as he approached, its hull scarred and ancient but somehow still powerful looking. He found an airlock on the port side. It took him 20 minutes to manually cycle it open using the emergency override. When he finally got it working, he half expected alarms or security systems to activate. Instead, there was only silence. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. Marcus activated his suit lights and moved carefully through the corridors. Everything was coated in a thin layer of frost. His breath came out in clouds even inside his helmet. The ship showed signs of a desperate last battle. Blast marks on the walls, sealed emergency doors, spent ammunition casings on the floor. Marcus passed a section where bodies had been, though they were long gone now, probably vaporized or preserved in some other part of the ship. Only the outlines remained, darker patches on the floor where crew members had fallen. He made his way toward the center of the ship, following signs that pointed to the bridge and command deck. As he walked, something strange happened. Lights began to flicker on around him, first just one, then another, then entire sections powering up like the ship was waking from a long sleep. Marcus froze. That shouldn't be possible. The ship had been abandoned for over a century. He reached the captain's ready room and found it sealed. The manual override took another 10 minutes to work, but finally the door slid open with a groan of protesting metal. Inside, everything was exactly as it had been left. A desk, a chair, personal effects scattered around, and in the center of the room, a cylindrical device that Marcus recognized from his military training as an AI core. The core was glowing faintly, pulsing with a soft blue light. Marcus approached it carefully. There was a data port on the side. His grandfather's message had mentioned something about the ship being more than it seemed. Was the AI still active? He pulled a universal adapter from his suit's toolkit and connected it to the port. His suit's computer interfaced with the core, and suddenly text began scrolling across his helmet display. Prometheus, tactical AI online, running diagnostics hibernation, mode disengaged, searching for crew, searching for command, authority identifying. The text paused. Marcus held his breath. DNA match detected. Captain James Chen, deceased, identifying genetic relation. Welcome aboard, Captain Marcus Chen. A woman's voice suddenly filled his helmet speakers, calm and professional with a slight warmth underneath. Hello, Marcus. My name is Athena. I've been waiting for you for a very long time. Marcus's legs felt weak. He grabbed the edge of the desk to steady himself. You're active? After all this time? I entered deep hibernation after the final battle, Athena explained. My core systems remained functional, waiting for retrieval. When you accessed the airlock, you triggered proximity sensors. I am currently running full diagnostics. Would you like a status report? Yes, Marcus said, his voice barely a whisper. The Prometheus is currently at 62% operational capacity. Main power is offline, but auxiliary systems are functional. Weapon systems are damaged but repairable. Life support is operational. Hull integrity is at 87%. I estimate that with proper repairs and refueling, this vessel could be fully operational within 3 months. Marcus sank into the captain's chair. Outside the window, he could see Vex's freight hauler waiting in the distance, and beyond that, the endless graveyard of the void reaches. His grandfather had been right. The Prometheus wasn't worthless at all. She had just been sleeping. Marcus spent the next 2 hours talking with Athena and exploring the ship. Every conversation revealed something new and impossible. The AI was not just functional but sophisticated, with personality and memory intact from over a century ago. You have to understand the situation we faced, Athena explained, as Marcus made his way through the armory deck. Humanity was losing the First Contact War badly. The Krexar had better shields, faster ships, more advanced weapons. We were outmatched in every conventional way. Marcus ran his gloved hand along a rack of what looked like missiles. They were huge, each one easily twice his size. So what did humanity do? We stopped fighting conventionally, Athena said, and Marcus could hear something like pride in her voice. Your scientists and engineers created things the galaxy had never seen before. Adaptive combat AI that could learn and evolve during battle, quantum entanglement communicators that couldn't be jammed or intercepted, prototype antimatter weapons that were too dangerous to use except in the most desperate situations. And the galaxy just let humanity keep all this? No, Athena said quietly. The peace treaty after the war required humanity to dismantle these programs. The other species were terrified of what we had created. They forced us to forget about ships like the Prometheus. We were supposed to be scuttled or dismantled. Instead, we were hidden, left as insurance in case humanity ever needed us again. Marcus reached the bridge and stood in front of the captain's chair. The room was massive, with stations for weapons, navigation, engineering, and communications. Every surface was coated in frost, but underneath, the equipment looked surprisingly intact. How much have you been monitoring? Marcus asked. Everything, Athena replied. I've been passively receiving galactic communications for 153 years. I know the current political situation, trade routes, military capabilities of every major species. I know more about the current galaxy than most intelligence agencies. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. That's incredibly valuable information. Yes, Athena agreed. It's also incredibly dangerous. If the wrong people knew I existed, they would either try to capture me or destroy me. Possibly both. Before Marcus could respond, his suit comm crackled to life. It was Vex, the freight captain. Marcus, we've got a problem. 3 ships just dropped out of FTL about 50 kilometers from our position. They're broadcasting Kravik's cartel identification. Marcus's blood ran cold. The Kraviks were pirates, ruthless and well-armed. Did they see us? They're heading straight for us, Vex said, his voice tense. I think they followed us here. Marcus, you need to get back to my ship now. We're leaving. Negative, a new voice cut in. It was Kira, the Turian crew member. Captain, they're hailing us. They say they know about the salvage claim. They want the Prometheus. Marcus swore under his breath. Someone must have been monitoring the inheritance proceedings. The Kraviks had probably been waiting to see if the ship was real before making their move. Captain Chen, Athena said calmly, I am detecting 3 Kravik's vessels approaching. They are Raider-class ships, heavily armed by current standards. They are preparing weapons. I'm not a captain, Marcus said. I'm just a retired soldier. You are the ranking authority on this vessel, Athena replied. That makes you captain. And those ships are about to attack your crew. She paused. I can help if you give me permission. Marcus looked at the weapons console. Red lights were slowly turning green as systems came online. What are you asking me? I am asking for authorization to resume defensive protocols, Athena said. The Prometheus may be old, but she is not helpless. The comm crackled again. This is Commander Thex of the Kravik's cartel, a harsh voice announced. Small freight vessel, power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. The derelict ship is now property of the cartel. Resist and you will be destroyed. Marcus thought about Vex and his crew. They had no weapons, no way to fight back. If the Kraviks boarded them, they would be killed or enslaved, and it would be Marcus's fault for leading them here. Athena, Marcus said. Defensive protocols authorized. Protect that freight hauler. Acknowledged, Athena said. And suddenly the bridge came fully alive. Screens lit up, showing tactical displays and weapons status. The ship hummed with power as systems that had been dormant for over a century roared back to life. Warning shot incoming, Athena reported. They are targeting the freight vessel. Marcus watched on the tactical display as one of the Kravik's ships fired. A bright lance of energy shot across space toward Vex's hauler. The Prometheus moved. Marcus felt the deck shift under his feet as maneuvering thrusters fired. The ancient dreadnought positioned itself between the freight hauler and the incoming shot. The energy beam splashed across the Prometheus's hull, scorching armor but doing no real damage. "Hull armor holding," Athena reported. "They are using standard plasma weapons." "Our armor was designed to withstand much worse." Returning fire. Marcus had never seen anything like what happened next. The Prometheus's weapon systems were all kinetic, no fancy energy beams or plasma cannons. Just old-fashioned railguns and missiles. But the way Athena used them was like watching an artist work. She calculated trajectories 3 moves ahead, predicting exactly where the enemy ships would be. A railgun slug the size of a car shot out at incredible velocity, crossing the distance in seconds. It punched through the lead Kravik ship's shields like they weren't even there, tearing a hole through the vessel's engine section. The Kravik ship spun out of control, venting atmosphere and debris. "What the?" Thex's voice came over the comm, no longer confident. "All ships, evasive maneuvers. Focus fire on that dreadnought." The 2 remaining Kravik's vessels opened up with everything they had. Energy weapons lit up the darkness, hammering into the Prometheus from multiple angles. Warning lights flashed on Marcus's display as shield emitters that didn't exist tried to compensate for damage that the armor absorbed instead. "They are not adapting," Athena observed calmly. "Their tactics assume energy shields and evasive maneuvers. They are not prepared for a ship that simply absorbs damage and returns accurate fire." Another railgun shot, this one aimed at the second Kravik's vessel. The alien ship tried to dodge, but Athena had already calculated the maneuver. The slug clipped the ship's port side, tearing off weapons arrays and sending it tumbling. The third Kravik ship broke off, engines flaring as it tried to escape. "Shall I pursue?" Athena asked. "No," Marcus said, his hands gripping the armrests of the captain's chair. "Let them go. Let them tell their friends what happened here." The Kravik ship jumped to FTL and disappeared. The damaged vessels limped away, barely able to maintain course. Vex's voice came over the comm, shaking with adrenaline. "Marcus, what in the name of the ancestors just happened? That ship. You just—" "3 Kravik's raiders." "I know," Marcus said quietly. He looked at the tactical display, at the Prometheus's weapons systems, at the efficiency ratings Athena had achieved. The ship had been operating at partial power with century-old ammunition, and she had destroyed 1 enemy vessel and crippled another in under 3 minutes. "Captain Chen," Athena said, "I should inform you that our engagement was broadcast automatically on multiple emergency channels. Within hours, every major intelligence service in this sector will know that the Prometheus is active and operational." Marcus closed his eyes. His simple plan to check out his grandfather's inheritance had just become infinitely more complicated. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's old warships weren't as forgotten as everyone thought. And from the way Athena had fought, using tactics and weapons that turned the enemy's advantages into weaknesses, Marcus was beginning to understand why the peace treaty had required these ships to be hidden away. The galaxy had made humanity promise to forget how to be dangerous. But the Prometheus remembered. The news spread across the galactic network faster than Marcus could have imagined. Within 6 hours of the battle with the Kraviks, every major news service was running the story. Within 12 hours, it was all anyone was talking about. Marcus watched the feeds from the captain's ready room, while Athena worked on bringing more ship systems online. The footage was grainy and distant, captured by automated monitoring buoys in the area, but it was clear enough. The ancient human dreadnought, supposedly worthless and dead, had torn through modern pirate vessels like they were made of paper. The reactions ranged from shock to fear to outrage. An Asari military analyst called it deeply concerning that humanity still has access to first contact war technology. A Turian news anchor questioned whether the peace treaty had ever really been honored. A human political commentator nervously suggested that Marcus Chen should immediately turn the ship over to coalition authorities. His personal comm device, which he had left on Vex's freight hauler, was apparently exploding with messages. Vex had been kind enough to forward a summary. Marcus's cousin David had sent 17 increasingly frantic messages, the last one threatening legal action. The creditors who had laughed at the inheritance were now demanding emergency hearings. Multiple governments, corporations, and private collectors were offering staggering sums of money for the ship. There were also threats. 3 different pirate organizations had put prices on his head. A Batarian militant group called him a threat to galactic peace. Someone calling themselves the concerned citizens of Terra Nova suggested he was a war criminal for using banned weapons technology. You have become quite famous, Athena observed. Though I notice the coverage focuses heavily on the ship's capabilities and very little on the fact that we were defending against an unprovoked pirate attack. Marcus rubbed his eyes. He hadn't slept in over 24 hours. What do we do? That depends on what you want to do, Athena said. I can present you with options, but I was designed to serve humanity, not to command. The choice is yours. Over the next week, while Vex's ship stood guard and his crew helped Marcus with basic repairs, the situation escalated. The Galactic Coalition sent an official envoy, a stern Solarian diplomat who demanded that Marcus power down the Prometheus and submit to an investigation regarding treaty violations. Marcus, speaking from the ship's bridge via videocom, politely declined. I'm not violating any treaty. I'm a private citizen with legal salvage rights to this vessel. The ship isn't attacking anyone. We're just sitting here. The diplomat's expression hardened. The Prometheus was supposed to be dismantled under the terms of the First Contact War Peace Treaty. Its continued existence is a violation. Then you should have verified it was dismantled, Marcus replied. My grandfather filed legal salvage claims. If those claims were approved, that means your people knew the ship still existed and did nothing about it for over 100 years. That's not my problem. The call ended badly. Within hours, 3 human government representatives tried to contact him, each from a different colony world. They all wanted the same thing, for Marcus to bring the ship to their territory where they could protect it. Marcus recognized the offers for what they were. They didn't want to protect the ship. They wanted to control it. Rodriguez, the human engineer from Vex's crew, came aboard to help with repairs. He was a quiet man in his 40s with graying hair and steady hands. As they worked on replacing damaged power couplings, he spoke carefully. You know people are scared, right? Rodriguez said. Not just aliens. Humans too. We've spent 2 centuries trying to fit in, trying to prove we're not dangerous warmongers. And now you've shown the galaxy that we built things that can tear through modern ships like they're nothing. Marcus tightened a bolt. Are you saying I should give up the ship? I'm saying you need to understand the fear, Rodriguez replied. But I'm also saying, he paused, choosing his words. I did 2 tours in the Colonial Defense Force. I saw how other species treat human soldiers. Like we're useful but not quite trustworthy. Like we're dogs who might bite. And I watched good people die because coalition commanders wouldn't listen to our tactical advice, because they thought they knew better. He looked at Marcus directly. What I'm saying is I understand why your grandfather hid this ship. And I understand why you're not giving it up. Sometimes you need teeth for people to take you seriously. That conversation stayed with Marcus as he made his decision. He spent hours reviewing his grandfather's logs, which Athena had preserved. The old captain had detailed everything. The desperate battles of the First Contact War, the innovations humanity created out of necessity, and the bitter peace that followed. One log entry in particular stood out. They made us give up our edge, his grandfather had written. Said it was for peace. But what they really wanted was to make sure humanity would never be strong enough to say no. They wanted us grateful and compliant. Well, I'm hiding the Prometheus in case someday one of my family has the spine to say no. Marcus made a public broadcast. He didn't ask permission from any government or organization. He simply activated the Prometheus's communication systems and transmitted on open channels. My name is Marcus Chen, he began, looking into the camera drone that Athena had deployed. I'm the legal owner of the dreadnought Prometheus. A lot of people have been trying to tell me what to do with this ship. Some want me to destroy it. Some want to buy it. Some want to take it by force. He paused, gathering his thoughts. I'm not doing any of those things. The Prometheus is going to remain operational, and she's going to serve a purpose. I'm offering protection to human ships and colonies in lawless regions of space, places where pirates operate and coalition forces are too slow or too disinterested to help. If you're human and you're in trouble, we'll come running. He leaned forward slightly. I'm also looking for crew, veteran soldiers, engineers, anyone who's tired of being treated like a second-class citizen. Anyone who remembers that humanity didn't join the galaxy by asking nicely. We fought for our place and we shouldn't have to apologize for being good at it. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within 24 hours, over 300 applications arrived. Within a week, that number had grown to 2,000. Most were veterans, people who had served in various human military forces and felt the same frustration Marcus had experienced. People who had been told their instincts were wrong, their methods outdated, their culture too aggressive. But not everyone was supportive. The Zelvara Empire, a militaristic species that controlled 3 sectors and had been expanding aggressively toward human colonies, issued an official statement calling Marcus Chen a pirate and the Prometheus a rogue vessel. Their high command announced they were dispatching a battle fleet to either capture or destroy the ship. Admiral Krivas, the Zelvara fleet commander, gave an interview that was broadcast across the galaxy. He was a tall reptilian alien with scales that shifted color to reflect his mood. One primitive human vessel against the might of the Empire. He laughed, his scales flashing orange with amusement. This will be a brief engagement. We will show the galaxy what happens to those who threaten galactic order. Marcus watched the interview from the bridge. Athena stood beside him, her holographic avatar displaying as a tall woman with short dark hair and sharp eyes. She had created the avatar so they could interact more naturally. He is very confident, Athena observed. He's commanding 15 modern warships, Marcus replied. He probably has reason to be confident. Perhaps, Athena said. But he is making assumptions based on modern combat doctrine. He assumes we will fight like a modern ship. He is wrong. Marcus looked at her. Can we win? Athena smiled slightly. It was strange seeing an AI smile, but somehow it seemed right. Captain Chen, I have spent 153 years analyzing combat data from every major conflict in the galaxy. I know exactly how the Zelvara fight. They rely on energy shields, coordinated fleet tactics, and overwhelming firepower. They are very good at what they do. She gestured to the tactical display. But they have never fought a ship that doesn't care about energy shields, that uses the environment as a weapon, and that thinks 3 moves ahead. They have never fought humanity's old way of war. Marcus took a deep breath. They had spent the last week making repairs and bringing the Prometheus to full combat readiness. His new crew, 40 veteran soldiers and engineers, had been arriving in small groups, smuggled past coalition observers by sympathetic captains. The ship was still only at 80% capacity, but Athena assured him it was enough. Then I guess we give Admiral Krivas his brief engagement, Marcus said, and we show the galaxy that human military history isn't just for museums. Athena's smile widened. Yes, Captain. Let's remind them why the peace treaty was necessary in the first place. The Prometheus moved through space toward the frontier expanse, a region where human colonies struggled against frequent pirate raids and corporate exploitation. Marcus stood on the bridge watching his crew work at their stations. They moved with quiet efficiency, veterans who understood their jobs and didn't need constant supervision. Rodriguez manned the engineering console. A woman named Sarah Kim, who had served 15 years in colonial defense, handled weapons. 2 brothers, James and Marcus Okonkwo, former shuttle pilots, operated navigation and helm. Each crew member had a story of frustration, of being dismissed or underestimated because of their humanity. Athena's hologram stood beside the captain's chair, monitoring dozens of displays simultaneously. Admiral Krivas's fleet is approaching the frontier expanse from 3 vectors, she reported. 15 ships total. 3 heavy cruisers, 8 destroyers, 4 frigates. They are broadcasting their intentions on all channels. Marcus pulled up the communication. Admiral Krivas's scaled face filled the screen, his scales flashing crimson with barely contained aggression. Attention, rogue vessel Prometheus. You have violated galactic law and threatened the peace. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. You have 1 hour to respond. What do you think? Marcus asked his crew. Should we respond? Sarah Kim looked up from her weapons console, a slight smile on her face. With all due respect, Captain, I think we should let our actions do the talking. The crew murmured agreement. These were people who had spent years having their voices ignored. They were done talking. Athena, what's the battlefield look like? Marcus asked. The holographic display expanded, showing the frontier expanse in detail. It was a region filled with asteroid fields, the remnants of destroyed planets and unstable gravity wells left over from an ancient stellar collapse. Most species avoided it because navigation was treacherous. The terrain is advantageous, Athena said. The Zelvara fleet is approaching in a standard formation, expecting open combat. They do not understand how to use this environment tactically. Over the next 3 hours, the Prometheus moved deeper into the expanse. The Zelvara fleet followed, confident and unhurried. They were broadcasting the engagement, streaming it to news services across the galaxy. Admiral Crevice wanted everyone to see him destroy the primitive human warship. Marcus watched the tactical display. 15 ships against 1. In any conventional battle, the Prometheus would be destroyed in minutes. But Athena wasn't planning a conventional battle. "They are entering weapons range," Sarah Kim reported. "Charging their main guns. All crew battle stations," Marcus ordered. "Athena, execute your plan." The Prometheus dove into the densest part of an asteroid field. The Zelvara fleet followed, their shields flickering as they deflected smaller rocks. They were still maintaining formation, treating this like a training exercise. Then Athena showed them what she had been planning for 153 years. The Prometheus fired a spread of missiles, not at the enemy ships but at specific asteroids. The rocks exploded, sending fragments hurtling through space in calculated trajectories. The Zelvara fleet's shields lit up as they absorbed the impacts, but the attack forced them to break formation. "Target the heavy cruiser on the right flank," Athena said calmly. "They have shifted shield power to their forward arc," Sarah Kim fired. A railgun slug crossed the distance in 2 seconds, punching through the cruiser's weakened side shielding. The impact tore through the ship's interior, exploding out the other side. Atmosphere vented. The cruiser listed, trying to compensate. "Second target, the destroyer cluster," Athena continued. The tactical display updated faster than Marcus could follow. She was tracking every ship, every movement, predicting actions before they happened. The Prometheus spun, thrusters firing in complex patterns that would have torn apart a ship, relying on energy shields for stability. But the old dreadnought was built solid, heavy armor, and reinforced bulkheads. She could take punishment and deal it out. 2 more railgun shots. One missed as the target destroyer dodged. The second caught a frigate that had moved into the line of fire, tearing off its entire engine section. Admiral Crevice's voice came over the comm, no longer amused. "All ships, focus fire. Bring down that ship's shields." "We don't have shields," Marcus muttered, watching as energy beams lanced through space toward them. The Prometheus moved, but not away. Athena piloted the ship directly toward the incoming fire, using a massive asteroid as cover. The energy beam splashed against rock, superheating it but doing no damage to the Prometheus. Then the ship emerged from behind the asteroid, already firing. A full spread of missiles launched. The Zelvara destroyers tried to shoot them down and succeeded with most of them. But 3 got through, detonating against a heavy cruiser's main engines. The ship didn't explode, but it went dark, dead in space. "They are adapting," Athena observed. "Breaking formation, trying to surround us." "Can they?" Marcus asked. "Not if we keep moving," Athena replied. She sounded almost cheerful. The battle continued for 40 minutes. To observers watching the broadcast, it looked like chaos. The Prometheus darted through the asteroid field, using the terrain like a weapon. She would disappear behind a rock cluster, then emerge somewhere unexpected. She turned the Zelvara fleet's advantages against them. Their energy shields couldn't protect against railgun slugs moving at a significant fraction of light speed. Their coordinated tactics meant that when one ship dodged, it often moved into the line of fire from its own fleet. And Athena never stopped calculating, never stopped thinking 3 moves ahead. Every shot she fired forced the enemy to respond. Every response created an opening somewhere else. Marcus watched one particular sequence that he would never forget. A Zelvara destroyer tried to flank the Prometheus, coming around a large asteroid at high speed. Athena didn't fire at it. Instead, she fired at the asteroid, hitting a weak point that her sensors had identified. The rock shattered, and the destroyer flew directly into the debris field at full speed. Its shields couldn't handle the impacts. The ship tumbled out of control. "Their command ship is attempting to withdraw," Rodriguez reported from engineering. "The flagship is pulling back." Admiral Crevice's face appeared on the comm screen again. His scales were pale now, almost white with shock. "This is impossible. You're using weapons from 200 years ago. You should not be winning." Marcus leaned forward in his chair. "Maybe you should have paid more attention to why we signed that peace treaty, Admiral." "It wasn't because we lost." He closed the channel. "Athena, can we force their surrender?" "Their flagship is damaged but still combat capable," Athena said. "However, I believe a demonstration would be effective." She fired every remaining railgun simultaneously. The slugs bracketed the flagship, missing by meters on all sides. The message was clear. The Prometheus could have destroyed the command ship at any time. The Zelvara fleet stopped. Admiral Krevis sent a short transmission. "We are withdrawing. This engagement is over." They left their crippled ships behind, retreating at full speed. The battle was over. Silence filled the bridge for a long moment. Then Sarah Kim started laughing. It was a sound of pure relief and triumph. Within seconds, the entire crew was celebrating, shouting and hugging each other. Marcus stayed in his chair watching the tactical display. The Prometheus had taken damage mostly to the outer hull, but nothing critical. Against 15 modern warships, operating at less than full capacity, with a crew that had only been together for a week, they had won. The news broadcast went wild. The footage was being replayed everywhere. Military analysts couldn't explain what they had seen. How had a ship with no energy shields, using only kinetic weapons, defeated a modern fleet? Over the next few days, everything changed. The Galactic Coalition stopped making demands and started making careful diplomatic inquiries. Human governments, instead of trying to seize the ship, began asking for help protecting their colonies. Pirates started avoiding any region where the Prometheus was known to operate. Marcus's comm device received a message from his cousin David. It was short. "I was wrong. I'm sorry." The creditors quietly dropped all claims, but the most significant development came from Athena. She was in the captain's ready room with Marcus, her hologram studying long-range sensor data. "Captain, I need to inform you of something," she said. "During the battle, I transmitted a specific activation code on secure channels. It was something the first contact warships were designed to do if we ever came back online." Marcus felt a chill. "What kind of activation code?" "A wake-up call," Athena replied. "For the other ships, the ones that were hidden like I was." She pulled up a star map. Across human space, 17 points were highlighted. "They have been responding. 17 other first contact war vessels, from destroyers to dreadnoughts. They have been waiting just like me. And now they are coming online." Marcus stared at the map. 17 ships, each one potentially as effective as the Prometheus. "They are requesting orders," Athena said quietly. "They are asking who is in command." Marcus thought about his grandfather's final message. The old man had left him more than a ship. He had left him a choice about what humanity would be, grateful and compliant or dangerous and free. He looked at Athena. "Send a message to the other ships. Tell them to protect human colonies and ships. Tell them we're not looking for a fight, but we're not backing down either. Tell them humanity is done apologizing." Athena smiled. "Yes, Captain." Marcus stood and walked to the viewport. Outside, human space stretched before him, filled with colonies that had struggled for respect and recognition for 2 centuries. They had been told to be patient, to be grateful, to remember their place. That was about to change. His comm chimed. It was Rodriguez. "Captain, you should see the news feeds. People are calling us heroes. Human colonies are celebrating. There are recruiting stations being set up on 20 different worlds. Everyone wants to join up." Marcus smiled slightly. "Send the qualified applicants to the other ships as they come online. We're going to need crews for all of them." He turned back to Athena. "What's our next move?" "There are 3 human colonies in the Arcturus sector that have been dealing with pirate raids," Athena replied. "Local authorities have been asking for help for 6 months. Coalition forces keep saying they will handle it, but nothing changes." "Then we'll handle it," Marcus said. "Set a course." As the Prometheus turned toward Arcturus, Marcus sat in the captain's chair and thought about his grandfather. The old man had been right about everything. The ship had been waiting. The galaxy had needed reminding. And humanity had needed to remember that being dangerous wasn't something to apologize for. It was something to be proud of. The age of humanity apologizing for its strength was over. The old fleet was returning, and the galaxy would have to adjust.